I've got my two registration faces. So what I'm going to do is find the center of this here. Now I've got 7 inches. So this is going to be a larger mallet, like this one. It's going to give me an extra 1/4 of an inch. This wood is lighter than this one. So I am going to go for a larger mallet, but you may want to go for 6 inches. So I find the center here, and I find the center here. So I'm basically, this is about as close as you get to 7 inches and 6 inches here. Then I join those two lines together. Why did I do that instead of squaring it? Can you see there is a slight discrepancy in there? Because I'm still roughing this. This angle may be slightly different than this one, I don't know. So I'm going to go to the center of these two, like that. Transfer them onto the end. I want a balanced mallet. If there's slightly more, so I'm trying to work to any eventuality, I suppose, is what I'm saying. So there's my center line there, CL, and CL there. So those are my dead center lines. So what I do now, I have the center line on this one, remember, CL. So now I lay this on top of here and allow a protrusion. I'm going to allow there to be 25 mil, 2.5 centimeters, and that is 1 inch. Then I align this on this side, and I'll spin this around in a second. So there I am, dead centered on this. So you can see the significance here. I turn it round and I'm centered on this here. Okay, so I'm going to make a mark here, just in case there's some slippage, and a mark here, so that I can keep that position, so I won't have to mark again. And then what I'm going to do, to get the exact position on the mallet head, I go with my knife here, and right into this corner here, I make a knife nick, right on the corner. Can you get that? And I do the same on this one here, right in the corner, angling to make sure I'm dead on. And then I go to this side here, and I can align that right on my center line there. I'm on this line here, and I go right into this corner here and this corner here. Any small slippage probably will not affect what we're doing, but there is my knife nick. Oops. Or did I get the right one? I'm going to check this just to make sure. Nope. Didn't get either of those right. See what happens when you get past 60. Okay, try again. See, these have got to be dead on, so I'm just going to press a little bit harder. So there is my knife. There is my knife. Now, on this face, on the inside here, I'm going to come with a very light pass, just somewhere in the middle here. I don't mind seeing the knife lines on this. It's a mallet, not a piece of furniture. So just there. And then I've got my lines here. So I get register against a square face. So I go into my knife nick there, slide up, small mark. This is going to be completely planed out, so you don't have to be too fussed to hear about not showing knife walls. I probably would just leave them in on a mallet. So there, can you see? You've got those. Now I'm going to set a mortise gauge, and if you don't have a mortise gauge, you can just use a marking gauge, but register from the same face. Find the center, move 3/8 of an inch over to one side, and make your wall. I'm going to go probably with the chisel that I'm going to chop the mortise with. But now you notice that I left this one is still 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to leave that fat in case my mortise holes need to be pared down slightly for some reason, which can happen. So set this into the center of your head material. This is a little tight, this one. This is just to, see, obviously this face isn't cleaned up, but I can still get centered onto it. That's probably good. Make a small mark, turn it around just to get you centered, cinch it up tight, and then run your gauge lines between those two knife walls there, like that. Okay, same onto this other face here, on the inside face. And these gauge lines are going to be cut lines after. We'll be paring down these gauge lines in actuality. So there's 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I don't know if you want to do this. You could do this. You could take this now with the single pin, now that we've finished with the double pins. And if you only have a marking gauge, that's fine too. But you could go right in between these two lines here, slap bang in the middle. Must be humid because my gauge is kind of seized up a little bit. Here and here. And you can run a gauge line right in between these two, like this and this, because we're going to bore. This is the only time you'll probably ever see me bore out the hole with a brace and bit. So that's what we'll do now. So we're finished with this for a minute, but when you see this next stage of what we call the boring stage, no, not really. I'm ready to bore these holes out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 7/16 auger in a brace and bit. You probably would, I don't know if you would, you might use a drill driver, screw gun, electric drill with a paddle bit in it, or an auger bit. They work just fine. But this is surprisingly effective and surprisingly efficient, usually. What I'm going to do, just to show you what I'm aiming for, I have to follow this angle. I can't just go square. So I'm going to square these angle lines just to guide me, really. So here and here and here and here, just to guide me along the rake with the bit there. And there. That's great. Surprising. This is only 1/8 less than this side, so it's making it look almost square. Now, I don't know whether I would suggest this. Let me just show you. This is purely visual now, but I'm going to start my bit away from the knife wall that I created by about 1/16, which is about 2 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters. So I'm starting here, and I want to show you as best I can that right in here, I'm 2 millimeters from this knife wall here, or the gauge line, 2 millimeters from this side, and about 2 millimeters from here. Can you see that? Okay, so now then, I could hold it this way. I find it a little difficult because I have to rely on the snail to pull me into the wood. So we'll do this one, but I have to now follow the rake of this here, and then I have to make sure that I'm perpendicular from this face, and I want to go about halfway through. So now I've lost the snail's not pulling because I'm not adding my upper body weight and shoulder weight to the work. So this is why I was saying it's very hard to cut into here and have that working effectively. So what we do is we put it this way, like this, and we employ the most valuable asset I have is this. This is called relaxed muscle. And I can just lean into this here. See that? How it cushions everything? It's perfect. So you can see now I've got this body weight. I only want to go through about halfway. So to make sure I do, it's a good idea to put some mark on here that gives me some indication of where I'm going to, so that I don't go too far. Let's say I was going through and I was going at an angle this way. I can come from the other side and maybe correct it. I have no idea when I'm inside that hole where I'm going at this point. So here is what I'm doing. I'm going to go halfway through, like this. And this is cutting just fine now. Every so often I'll feel the snail, which is the very point, which looks a bit like a snail, I suppose. Pull out the waste with the bit. And there's one hole. So let me see if I can show you a bit more to camera in here. Just below the line and just, oh no, this is going to be in the way. Let me see if I can go a little higher and a little higher this way, which will work, I think. On here. A little bit closer. I'm right on that edge line. I think it'll work fine. But so I got upper chest this time. So I'm leaning my whole mass of muscle from my upper body, which is a heavy aspect of my body, into this brace. Like this. I'm not going to bother with the middle section because that will just chisel out in a heartbeat, I think. This has stopped pulling, so check the snail. Can you see in there, even just a little bit there, this starts to clog inside the snail. So just flick that out and it'll add a little. So this side's more evident here. See it here? So you can just flick that out. That gets compressed inside the hole and it doesn't have anywhere to go sometimes. Losing it, that grip, that extra grip. Now we got it. You can see why this exercise is really good. It really gets your heart pumping, and that's why people don't like hand tool woodworking. It takes effort, but it's really good exercise, very good exercise for you. One more from this side. And these don't have to line up inside. It's great if they do. Sometimes you'll find somehow you managed to go from both sides. We're meeting. Just back out. Let's see. Yeah, it's good. I don't know how good, but it's Now we are, we're through. That's pretty accurate, really. And one more. I'm a little off center there. So I'm going to go on the side of the hole, pop it with the heel of my hand. That'll push the fibres over, angle this over, and then square it up, and I'm on line again. Well, close to. So I'm still following the rake of that angled mortise hole, but it wouldn't really matter. You can still chisel the angle exactly. Sometimes think I should be on the other side of the camera and have some younger blood in here. There, I'm through. There we go. So, you can see through, it's not very pretty, but we are through. So we're going to chop now. What we do is go in here, tighten the vise, fairly large chisel, center cut, and then either side. We can keep going down just to clean out that midsection as best you can, really. Stay away from your gauge lines for a little bit longer. And there we go. I'm close to the other side. There, looks like a pair of binoculars now. And on this side here, center again. Thought I was closer to this side than I am. Okay, that's it. That's me through. So what do I do now? I'm going to stay exactly where I am, and I'm going to start with the 3/4 inch chisel just away from my knife wall, like this. And then I'm going to go near to the knife wall, but not into it yet. Like this. Now I'm going directly into that knife wall there. Lever away from the shoulder line, not into it. There. And closer to it. There. So this is the narrow end. See that when I went to dip? See, it's not going anywhere. So I have to clear somewhere for that waste wood to go. I'm going to go on here now. I'm going to go directly into the gauge line, like this, and this across the whole width. That's giving me an exact cut line there, and the same on this side. I'm going to start away from the line here, so I can just read the grain. The grain's doing fine. So here and then here, just on the surface fibers, because I want a very crisp, clean line like this here. This has got a little tiny gap, but that's fine. This is perfectly acceptable for a mallet. So that gets me close in. And then, so I chop down this face here. So it's separating the fibres, and that'll make the end grain cuts here a little easier, I think. So I'm going to angle over here now. Watch this. See, I'm angled way over, even though I should be angled the other way, just to clean out some of that waste. Why wouldn't I use a mortise chisel? It's too big, it's too heavy. I find it quite ineffective compared to a regular chisel, and as long as I don't over lever on this, put too much pressure on, it'll work just fine, which is what it's doing now. So take out the perimeter of the hole gradually. Now I want to follow the rake as much as I can. You can imagine how a large mortise chisel would bind itself in the mortise hole. I think these tool salesmen dislike me sometimes because of what I say, because they're selling tools and equipment, but not many craftsmen that I ever worked with used a mortise chisel, except when they were doing massive mortises, deep mortises on doors. This would be probably close to that. Can you see what I'm getting here now? I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm a little bored with this side, so I'm going to go to the other side, just to make sure that I'm aligning gradually with where I want to be. So you chop again on this outside perimeter. Start away from the cut line, lever, and then move into this gradually. And now I'm right in that knife wall there. That's got me a perfect line. Same on this one here. Start away from the cut line. Lever as best you can. There wasn't much space to go with that. Go closer to your knife wall. And then a little upstand there. Right into that edge there. Lever. I think I'm confident that this grain, see, it's splitting exactly where I want it to, so I can go right into my gauge line. There, there. Keep working down that side here. I'm going to take a little bit off there first, because I'm reading the grain. Confident cuts. Getting closer. We're not near meeting yet. So here I'm going to go away from my knife wall down at the bottom and chisel out some of the waste like that. Same from this side. We're close. Love it, love it, love it, love it. If you don't have a long chisel, like this is where those silly butt chisels don't work for us really. Kind of came in at one time and they've stayed with us, I'm afraid. Okay, down in there. Wow, this is aligning almost already. Sometimes I'm surprised. This time I am, because this isn't always going to align. So I want to forewarn you that it may not do exactly what you want it to do. Can you see right in there? So we're almost aligned. So what I do here, this little rubber thing in there works perfectly. Give it a good firm grip, double-handed, just pare down this face to about halfway. Flip around. I can feel it. I'm relying on my feelings a little bit here. And eyeballing it, yeah. Yeah, rely on those intuitive aspects now. You're developing this intuitive aspect of working, especially if you've worked through woodworking masterclasses. That really has been a wonderful change in direction for me to try and help you through our woodworking masterclasses. YouTube has been wonderful for that too. And there, I feel quite happy that at this stage, maybe I can do it a little bit more on the hole this way. Maybe I can just clean this up a little bit, and I feel quite happy that that is near perfect. Can you see there's no, I press down there, there's no gap on that bottom edge. Probably a longer straight edge would help more. So I go on here, there's no gap on that bottom edge, and there's no gap on that side, which means it must be straight or even hollow. I try not to get it hollow. And my eyes tell me it's perfectly straight. Let me see if it shows a better example of not being straight inside this one. See how it's rocking? That means I have a high spot in the middle. Would I go with the 3/4 inch chisel? Probably not. I'd probably go with a 1/2 inch just to get that high spot first. Boy, this is a lot of power going here. So I'm going halfway. And why did I go halfway? Because I hit a dead spot, a spot where I couldn't go past. Coming from this side, I might do the same. This side, it went through. So I'm careful not to go all the way through to that edge there, because I might break off a chunk. Let's see what we got here now. Perfect. Can you see in there how that aligns with that front edge? No rounded areas. So there is my mortise hole. Crisp, clean, beautiful. Does this fit? No, this won't fit yet because it's not to the proper width. So I've got to plane this. This is kind of hard when you've got a taper in there. So you could use the, oh no, you can't use the piece. Yeah, you can use the piece you cut off. Did I throw it away? There it is. So you could use this to counter that, like that. What we'll do is we'll plane just a leading edge on both ends first, I think. Especially at this end here. I love these planes. A bit more. There. Let's see if that fits in the start of the hole. And it does, pretty close, nice, tight. So I've gone down to there so I can make a mark. And I don't need to, probably don't need to plane any more off this section. See what we got here? We're still thick, so this was the end I was planing. So I'm going to try planing more at the other end, like this. Keep these chisels away from your hands. The knives here, you don't want to be planing here. This knife would puncture in here. Personal safety, your responsibility, not mine, but I do care about you. So I'm going to tell you all the things that have damaged my hands so that you can learn from my big mistakes. So nice and tight. So I'm easing from that line towards the other end. Now I might take this, put a bit of a lead in there, and try this in here. Not quite there. Try that one, no. But this one I think is pretty close to my finished size. So I'm going to take a little bit more off here. Fit this. So now I can just take the middle bit confidently from this 0 mark here all the way through to this 0 mark here, like this. I take an even passage with my plane from both sides of the wood because my plane isn't quite wide enough, like this. All right. Now I'm going all the way through here. Drop this in here. Look what's happening. It's going to there. Still a little bit of gap there, so check inside. Shock it on. Pretty close. I have a slight gap here, and I've got a gap here. I've got actually 2 gaps here, but I still have another inch to go. So am I too wide this way? I am. I can see, let me see. Yeah, there's a very slight gap there, and there's no gap on this side, which is really what I wanted. So it could be that I'm a little too fat somewhere around this spot. That should really be quite loose, and it's quite tight. So I'm going to take this out and take a shaving nearer to this end here. That will get me pretty close in. I still have to plane this surface because this was the machine surface. So I might do some on this side this time. Just a little bit. Okay, so here, yeah, there, those machines. Okay, let's see how close we are this time. Something inside there just, Oh, another thing I need to tell you too before we get any further into this and it's too late. I'm going in here just to take a little step off this side here. Don't quite get it there. That's it. I think that's just a little snag holding me off. While I've got you here, look at this. Right on this rim here, if I drive my shaft into here, this outside edge can break. So I'm going to go right on here, now that I've got it close to fitting, and I take that corner off. Now it does show, it will show as a slight, more like a gap, but if I don't do that, this inevitably breaks, and often you look inside mallets here and you'll see this corner is broken out. Not good. So I'm taking it off there, and I also take it off on this outside edge here, especially here, because when it drives in tight, the natural flinging of the mallet is what keeps this tight. I probably didn't explain that. This mallet head never ever comes loose. None of my mallet heads ever come loose from the shaft, because you're always flinging it, and the shock of the wood and everything hitting the wood, it draws it onto itself. So here I take this off about 3 mil from that corner at 45, like that, just like that. And the same on this one, 3 mil, no more than an 1/8 really, probably a little less. Now let's see if this still trips on the inside. It does, which means it's the wall. Because I did have a couple of little trips there, but this one is, I can see it inside, it's just the wall. Just a little bit. That's probably what was tripping it up when it went in too. Okay, let's try again. Ah, that's where I was going. Oh, yeah, this is great. So hopefully this will stop 3/4. It's tight already. So I'm very happy that I haven't taken too much off the shaft. This is really compressing these fibers here. But you can see how much of an overhang I've got. I may even leave that. If I took one shaving off here, it'll probably move it in another 1/4 of an inch. So maybe we should do that. I'm tight inside here. I don't know if you can see inside these corners, but I'm dead tight inside on either side here. You just have to take my word for it. And the same on here, right inside here. So I got the exact angle there, so they're commensurate with one another. So, do I take the extra shaving or not? Ooh, that's a big question. I'm going to take a chance here. So here, 3. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to settle on 3. Let's see if we're close. No, we're still a good distance away. Now I'm very tight at this end. So, and here I can see a hairline. It's probably hard on your ears, that, is it? So a little bit more off from here down towards the end of the shaft, I think. There, and there. I want this to be an exact correspondence between the two. That's about as solid as it gets, that. Should I do it that way? Wow, so hard. Still, I can see a little bit inside the shaft there. Might need a little bit off. I'll take this here, a couple more. You don't want to go too far. Better to leave it now and let it acclimate to your shop. That should be 1 inch, dead on. All right, so now we need to shape the head and shape the shaft, and I'll show you how to do that.